my jaw was on the floor. I was like, because I know there are some people who have horrible experiences. Good morning, everyone. This thing is bothering me and I'm gonna use this to hopefully keep it down. But anyways, if you're new, my name is Janelle and I am an elementary PE teacher, and this is actually the second vlog for my realistic teaching series. For my realistic teaching series, I just wanted to make this series just for people who are not in education and just like give an awareness of what teachers actually go through, or just like talk about the experiences that some teachers go through. I'm a PE teacher, so my experiences is way different than classroom teaching. My main degree is in classroom teaching, and I did both student teaching in the classroom and in PE. And in today's topic is that student teaching doesn't prepare you for becoming a teacher. Let me tell you that it is completely different once you step in the classroom. Once you're in the classroom by yourself, they don't teach you this in a student teaching program. My experience is definitely different because I did my student teaching during COVID, which is not the norm. So when I did my student teaching in the classroom, it was all through Zoom. That didn't prepare me at all. If I wanted to be a classroom teacher, I wouldn't even be prepared at all, okay? With Zoom, we were only with the kids for what, an hour? I don't know, was it an hour? Yeah, it was like an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. And compared to all day, doesn't even compare. Let me know what your experience is in student teaching, but it does not prepare you at all. And I'm grateful that I did student teach in PE in person. The thing with mine is it did cut short because of COVID, but I was still able to see in person. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and I will talk more about that experience later in this video. But I'm gonna fix this really quick and then I will sit down and talk more about this. Okay, it kind of worked, right, with the hair gel slick back thing. Anyways, I'm sitting down now and have my coffee. I'm actually gonna leave in like 10 minutes, but I have some time. This realistic teaching series is like, the purpose of this series is just to show that teaching isn't always what you see on social media, and like, you know, with the perfect looking classroom, or like always in a good mood, because let's be real, like no matter what job you have, there's always good and bad days and nothing's perfect. I just hope that people who are watching these videos can realize that this job is difficult. Like when I see people on TikTok who are teachers and like they, you know, they complain about the teaching, and what irks me is that some people in the comments are like, well, you knew this from the beginning, you should have went to a different career. Doesn't everybody complain about their job sometimes? Like, isn't that normal? And the reason why we talk about these things is so other people can relate and let them know like, hey, you're not alone, and yeah, that's true, like, you know, building that community. I just want to be able to share the realistic side. This is not to scare anyone who is thinking about becoming a teacher, or who are new teachers. If you do want to become a teacher, like that's all you've been thinking about, go for it, because you need to experience and see if it's something that you like. You won't know until you try. So that's why I always tell myself, like, you won't really know until you try. So if you really want to be a teacher or whatever that you want to be, you need to try and go for it and see if it's something for you. Anyways, this topic is student teaching. My student teaching experience, I did my student teaching in PE in person, which I'm very, very grateful for, because if I didn't, I wouldn't really know what to do, because I was able to see it in person with classroom management. Like, okay, when can students go get a drink? How many people can go get a drink? You know, those little things like that, it makes a difference. And with PE, since we only get a certain amount of time with students, time is very, very precious, so we don't like to waste time. That's why when it comes to classroom management in PE, there's like certain little things like, okay, like when can you put your jackets away? And for me, I only want my students to put their jackets away or sweaters away when the music is on, like when we're playing an activity, or in the beginning of class, right when they come in. That's the only time they can take their jackets off, because if they're taking their jackets off while I'm giving instruction, that's disruptive to the class. And then I'll let other kids were like, oh, I need to take my jackets off too while I'm explaining something. And for me, I don't like to talk a long time, especially in PE. Like, I just want to be able to give out instructions, show the example, and then do the activity. I'm grateful that I was able to student teach in person for PE. The only con about it was I didn't see it from the beginning. I started student teaching like mid-year, so I didn't see like what it looks like in the beginning, because of course when you come in mid-year, like each classroom is like amazing and kids already know what to do. The teacher already has expectations of what the kids should be doing, so I wish I saw that in the beginning. Also, another con is it did have to cut my student teaching experience in person short because of COVID. We got shut down in March, so I wasn't able to finish because mine was supposed to be in January all the way to like May. But it's okay, like I was still able to see, which I'm very, very grateful for. With my student teaching experience in like a classroom setting, it was all through Zoom. I wish I saw it in person and got to experience, because I feel like I am spending money on, you know, my program, that I didn't get to experience the real thing. But it's not their fault, it's not the program's fault. It's like, you know, COVID, of course we have to follow the protocols and stuff. But yeah, that's a big con right there. Another thing is, when it comes to student teaching, with the lesson planning, you guys, the lesson planning that they make you do during student teaching, it's unrealistic. I remember I had to make a 10-page PE lesson plan. Like, are you kidding me? So every time I was doing it, I was like, I am not going to be realistically in the classroom in PE. I'm not going to be doing this. A 10-page, I mean, I don't know, maybe it depends on like your school district, state, if they require you to submit long PE plans. I'm so grateful that my school district doesn't do that, that they trust us to teach our students and all that. But a 10-page PE lesson plan, like, are you serious? Realistically, just get like a sticky note or get some ideas on YouTube or social media or on any other social media, and that's your lesson plan. There's more to talk about when it comes to student teaching, and I'm curious to know, if you are a student teacher right now, what is your experience? And if you were a student teacher and you went through the teaching program, what was your experience like? Comment them down below, and I'll keep talking about this throughout the day. I am sitting on my desk and looking over my lesson plans. But anyways, back to student teaching. Your student teaching program not preparing you for the real world experience of being a teacher. The feeling of stepping into your classroom for the first time and just being on your own, it can be exciting but also scary. And I do have like teaching tips. I'll link it in my description box, but they don't really like tell you like what to do on like the first day of school or the first week of school. I would say like that's one of the most important days throughout, like, out of the whole year, because that's the first day, that's the first week, and you need to figure out what you want to do and what you want your kids to do. I remember my first day of teaching in person, because my first year teaching was through Zoom. Like stepping in is like, whoa, I am by myself. I need to figure this out. What do I want my kids to do? It can be kind of intimidating, especially if you're by yourself and it's your first time being by yourself with your whole class. But then you'll get used to it and it'll get better. And as a teacher, you hope that you get better each time and that you're learning and you're growing for your students and for yourself. I'm curious, like, if you went through a student teaching program, what type of classes did they offer? One of the things that I wish my student teaching program provided was like a classroom management type of class. And honestly, like, the only teacher that taught us like classroom management and like tips on classroom management was in my science class. We didn't have any classes when it comes to how to deal with behaviors, because if you don't know, like, behaviors nowadays is definitely different compared to when I was a kid. And I don't know if you've heard, but each year it is getting worse and worse with behavior, just the behaviors in general. I wish they had a class specifically for that. What to do in a situation if a kid doesn't want to follow your directions. What can you do if it's in a situation if a kid is being, really disruptive and being unsafe in the classroom? Like, what are the protocols with room clears, all that stuff. My program did not provide that info, and I don't know if it's because like they didn't want to like intimidate or scare teachers, but realistically, like, that's, I think it's one of the most important classes is to teach like classroom management and like dealing with misbehaviors, like those top two things. If you don't learn those things, it's going to be harder for you. If you're in a student teaching program right now, or you went through a teaching program, let me know in the comments if you had any like classroom management or behavior classes that taught you or helped you in the real world experience of being a teacher. Okay guys, it's the end of the day and I'm freaking exhausted. Overall, had a good day, but continuing on with student teaching, not being able to prepare you for the real world teaching experience. Like I mentioned before, everyone's student teaching experience will be different. And it also depends on your cooperating teacher or your mentor teacher, whatever that you call it in your program. But for me, I had amazing cooperating teachers. Like, I look up to them and I still look up to them because I know there are some people who have horrible experiences with their cooperating teacher, and that, everyone's experience will be different. So I'm just like grateful that I had amazing cooperating teachers that trusted me to, create lessons and teach the lesson, and they were able to let me, take over whenever I wanted. Like, it does make a difference when you have a cooperating teacher that will help you along the way, who will support you, who will understand you, who will let you take over the classroom when you need to. Each teacher is different, so if a student teacher has any like recommendations or just like a different idea, like I said, teaching is a learning thing and it's important to work together. It's important to figure out different ways to engage your students. Yeah, I'm just like grateful that I had amazing cooperating teachers and grateful for my student teaching experience. But the only con, like I said, it was during the COVID, because that literally, like, I don't know, I feel like it just got taken away from us and like the full experience. If you were in student teaching, you can also share in the comments like, how was your student teaching experience? Were you able to get along with your cooperating teacher? Share everything in the comments, because I always reply, and it'll be nice to just, I want this like realistic teaching series to be able to relate with other teachers and, create a community, a safe environment, safe community that they can share whatever that they feel like sharing. Good morning, everyone. This is the outfit of the day. It is a rainy day. I mean, typical Oregon weather during the fall and winter, but here's my Patagonia rain jacket. my zip up sweater, and then my Adidas pants, and then my New Balance shoes. So that's the fit today. Continuing off with student teaching programs not preparing you for real world teaching job experience. I don't know, but it doesn't prepare you. One of the things that I hated, and I think it's the waste of time and money, is EdTPA. And if you don't know what EdTPA is, it's basically like this huge research project specific states require teaching programs to do in order to get your license. It's just a waste of time. The EdTPA doesn't prepare you to be a real teacher, and it costs $300. Thankfully, I got mine waived, so I was able to get my $300 back. But for the people who weren't able to waive their EdTPA, like, that's money, and teachers don't even make that much. But I do have a video on how to organize your EdTPA if you have to do that. And I know it's different in specific states. It is what it is, how to do it, and thankfully I did pass the first try and had a decent score. Still a waste of time because that stressed me the F out. I also want to talk about like 3 things that I didn't like about my student teaching experience, and then my top 3 favorite parts of student teaching. Because there are some good things, you know, there are lots of good things, but also not so good things about student teaching programs. 3 things that I liked about my student teaching program was that I had amazing professors, all but one, okay? They were very supportive, they're so sweet, and they got your back no matter what. And they give you their time if you need it. And I said all of them but one because I remember, like, I will always remember this, and that's why words matter, and like what you say to your students matter, because they can remember this forever. So I'm always gonna remember this because it's pretty embarrassing. So our classes was through Zoom. In the beginning of class, like the first day of class, she was like, okay everyone, each person is gonna tell, you know, you're gonna say your name and what is your dream teaching position, okay? She said dream teaching position. She was very nice and sweet and like being supportive with everybody. And then when it was my turn, I was like, okay, my dream teaching, it would be an elementary PE teacher. And then she was like, this is through Zoom, by the way, right? So everyone was there and everyone was listening. And I mean, it would be like this in the classroom too, but she was like, oh, PE teaching? She was like, there's not that many jobs out there. And she was like, good luck with that. And I was like, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, bruh. And then some of my classmates texted me, is like, I cannot believe she said that. Like, she's like, oh my gosh, like. And then ever since then, I'm like, I hate this class. Like, I can't stand her. And she even said dream teaching job. Like, I knew that there's not that many PE teaching jobs out there unless you're willing to locate. But that's why I have it as an endorsement, like as a backup, just in case. And she said dream teaching position. That's why, like, your words matter. And sometimes I have to always rethink what I say before I say it out loud to my students, because again, words matter. They will always remember what you say, or just they might not remember what you said to them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. I had amazing professors, except that one. And then I enjoyed my cohort group. They were also amazing and supportive. There was a day cohort and a night cohort, and I was in the night cohort because I work during the day. So I enjoyed my time with my night cohort. I would say I was able to student teach in person during PE. So that's part of my favorites, because I always get excited when I'm with my mentor teacher and watching her when she taught. I mean, she's still teaching PE, but like, I'm always amazed by how she teaches, and I still look up to her. Those 3 are my favorite things. All right, I am going home and I had a really good day. So I wanted to talk about the 3 things that I didn't like about my student teaching program, or what they didn't offer, or just my experience. The one thing I didn't like is that they didn't have a classroom management course. And I think it's so important to have like a classroom management class. That way you you have an idea of what you want your students to do when they come into your classroom. So I don't know, maybe they just expected that you'll get your experience or you'll learn classroom management with your cooperating teacher or in being in the classroom. I'm home now, got my coffee, and I have 2 more things to say what I don't like about my student teaching experience. I already talked about my Zoom experience, but that's not the program's fault. It was kind of long, not gonna lie. I wanted to find a program that was 1 year, not a year and a half. And I kind of wish it was just 1 year, because I feel like with a half, like you end in December. I'm very grateful that I did get a job mid-year, because it is harder to get like a job in mid-year. Yeah, our last day was December of 2020. And again, that's mid-year. It's hard to hire people. But thankfully, I was able to get a job right away. I actually applied during November and then got the job in December, and I started in January. I was able to get a job. It was only part-time though. So that's one of the cons if you do go into a student teaching program that's a year and a half and you end mid-year. The last thing that I didn't like about my student teaching program, I would say like my last one is like the COVID one, okay? But it's not their fault. It's not the program's fault. But overall, I just know that student teaching doesn't really prepare you for the real world teaching job. And even if you do student teach in person in the classroom, it does not compare to when you have your own classroom. Like when you're the one in charge, you can't look at your cooperating teacher, you can't, you know, ask for help really quick if something goes wrong. Like you are on your own once you get into your classroom. The purpose of this video is to let you know if you are going through a student teaching program, just know it doesn't prepare you, but once you get into the field, you will gain experience, you will learn so much. Some people might say like their student teaching program did help them, which is great. Like if your student teaching program helped you become a better teacher and that you were 100% ready to take over the classroom, that's great. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any questions or comments about student teaching. I will always reply, leave them in the comments below. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I will see you next time.